Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field report. I'm getting a little more taste of winter this week. That's okay, because I have a lot of things to do before the spring push. I'm still getting a number of questions about moving to corn on corn, and I wanted to cover those questions. Question comes in on which fields would you select for corn on corn? Now, seasoned corn on corn growers know which fields do better in corn on corn. So using past yield histories, picking fields that have a good track record of corn on corn would be the first on the list to pick. For newbies in corn on corn, I may start with bean yields. Pick the poor yielding bean fields, ones that suffer from white mold, SDS, or heavy cyst pressure. I would not choose my best yielding bean fields. Now, we need them in the rotation to keep profit in any soybeans. How do you pick the right hybrid for corn on corn? Here too, experience is the first place to go. If you don't have the experience with corn on corn, look to a neighbor who does. And this is why a good seed dealer is worth their weight to help you pick hybrids that tend to do well. Looking for hybrids that have good scores against seedling blights and tend to handle the allopathic issues better. And again, I would not go back to back with the same hybrid that you had in that field last year for this year. I would switch them up, otherwise you will express the weakness of that hybrid. Now, many guys are going to corn on corn in no-till, vertical till, or a BT kind of one pass across the top. So high residue situation, maybe strip till as well. Now, this surface residue is an inoculant for early disease, but it's also the bridge for late season tar spot from last year to affect next year's crop. Now, we can't predict the weather, but we can protect with fungicides and seed treatments and intensive scouting for our post-fungicide treatments. I would budget at least one fungicide application. As we showed you in the winter meetings, be ready for a second application of tar spot if it comes in later. It'll show up in these corn on corn fields first. Last week, I talked about the carbon penalty and using the 4 R's to manage around it. Either banding near the plant or flooding the zone with nutrients to override the N deficiency caused by breaking down last year's stalks. Now, some of our northern customers are wondering if they broadcast 100 pounds of N as urea, would that flood the zone enough to pay the carbon penalty? The answer is maybe not. The rate is right, the placement is right at the surface where the fence post rots off, the timing is right, but the product may not be. I go on several urea service calls every year where growers are dealing with yellow corn and they think their urea is not working. Most of these calls will be in corn on corn, especially spring chiseled corn on corn. Let's start first with urea surface applied in the spring. It'll need to be worked in right away or treated with a urease inhibitor. The urease enzyme that breaks down urea will be 10 times higher in that corn residue at the surface than the soil below. Don't let this nitrogen gas off on you. When urea goes through the nitrification process, one of the first products produced is ammonium. Ammonium is like jet fuel to the microbes that are digesting last year's stalks. If the soil temperatures are warm, these guys can consume an amazing amount of nitrogen in the ammonium form. In plots, we can track this. Normally, after an application, we would see the ammonium values skyrocket when the urea starts to convert to ammonium. And when the ammonium goes down, typically nitrates will come up, so the conversion from ammonium to nitrate. In high residue situations, ammonium can be consumed by the microbes, causing the ammonium numbers to fall in the soil as it's consumed by the microbes, but we don't see a rise in nitrates in the soil. This nitrogen is immobilized for a period, causing the corn to go yellow. When I'm on a urea service call in yellow corn, the first thing the grower wants me to do is pull a nitrate test to see if the urea is still there. Well, we can't check for urea. We can check the soil for ammonium and we can check the soil for nitrate. But when the corn is yellow from nitrogen, I know both of these values are going to be low. This N is not lost, but it's temporarily tied up until the microbes start to mineralize it back into the soil pool. The problem is your corn will turn back green when this happens, but you may have already experienced a yield loss. Soil microbes can use ammonium and nitrate, but they prefer ammonium. They're not very efficient with the nitrate, and they won't use any nitrates if there's ammonium available. Once the ammonium's been all consumed, they'll start the process of consuming nitrates. I have personally seen 150 pounds of N as urea be consumed by the soil microbes. It literally disappears off the balance sheet for 3 to 5 weeks. Then it'll show back up as mineralization starts. Now don't get me wrong, immobilization and mineralization are happening simultaneously, all the time. But at certain times we have net immobilization and others we have net mineralization. This is one of the reasons 100 pounds of N as 28 or 32% tends to work better when you're flooding the zone. There in 32 and 28% is half urea, and it still needs to be protected if applied to the surface. A quarter of it is ammonium and can be used by the microbes immediately, and a quarter of it is nitrate, which the microbes really don't like and don't want to use if they don't have to. So the microbes go after the ammonium first, and then the urea, when it converts to ammonium, they'll go after it, and they're kind of leaving a quarter of nitrate alone, and the plant can feed on that. If you are applying some N with the planter, which could carry your corn through till mineralization starts, and you're going to be all right with 100 pounds of N as urea surface applied. If the urea is on early, soils are warm, and you're planting later, you may be in a net mineralization period before the corn gets caught in the carbon penalty. If soil nitrates are high due to over-application last season, say following a drought, you might get by as well. If the corn stalks are not chiseled into the soil, again where the fence post rots off, the carbon penalty will be less, and you might be all right with the surface application. With 100 pounds of N as urea, my suggestion would be to only use a urease inhibitor to stop volatility, not a nitrification inhibitor. The nitrification inhibitors hold the N in the ammonium form longer, which keeps it safe from loss due to water. But it stops it from converting to nitrate, which would be more accessible to the plant to use when the microbes consume all of the ammonium. Now, I know I'm going to get some calls on that, but we've seen it in our plots multiple times. If you're only putting on 100 pounds of N, I assume you will be side dressing some later to take care of the back end of your nitrogen needs. Now, if you put 100 pounds on last fall as anhydrous, and you're planning to put 100 pounds on in the spring as urea, be ready to see some yellow corn or the corn to stall out. At least until your nitrogen starts to mineralize or the corn gets a deep enough root system to find the anhydrous core. Most of the questions have come from growers who originally planned to go to soybeans, so I'm assuming the fall N was not applied. Now, kicking up the rate from 100 pounds and going on up to 150 or to 200 pounds of N may overrun the microbes, allowing some ammonium to be picked up by the plant and some to convert to nitrate for the plant as well. The problem here, this doesn't leave much room for sidedress N, which without it could leave you short on the backside. Many times the yellow corn complaints come in with rapid warming of temperatures. So as temperatures explode rapidly, that's usually when the phone starts ringing. This population of microbes doubles every 10 degrees the soil warms up. So if it's easing its way up, you get a little bit softer process out there, but if it jumps, all of a sudden it's 75, 80 degrees and staying warm, that's usually when trouble starts. Now, if you're used to your corn on corn turning yellow and it doesn't bother you, then none of this would be a worry to you. But just remember, we do not want corn to have a bad day. When it's yellow, it's having a bad day and yield potential is getting dinged. Getting a lot of seed samples going in. If you're still planning on sending in seed samples, let's get that done before we run out of time. For the pest teams out there, it's time to put out your 13-line ground squirrel bait stations, as the males will be out of hibernation soon. The females will be out shortly after. Cleaning up these populations before the mating season begins has the biggest impact on your populations. If you haven't already put your cutworm traps and lures out, let's get that done as well. I am happy to announce our digital version of the hybrid yearbook is being launched. This will allow you to sort the data in the yearbook several ways. You'll be able to sort by company, by individual numbers across companies, maturities, total flex, and leaf type. You'll be able to select your favorites, which most likely are the hybrids that you have in the shed. This sorting tool is set up to work on your iPad or your cell phone. Jared has made a tutorial video to walk you through how to use it. Now, this is a beta version of it, so any feedback on issues would be appreciated. Anyone who received a yearbook for volunteering to help or purchased a yearbook can call the office to get instructions on the download and the unlock code to use it. I've been using it this past week, and it's a neat and quick way to get the information on the hybrid as we go through our yield map meetings. Soil test teams are hard at the spring soil testing. Don't forget to turn those orders in. We are coming to the end of our yield map season. The crew is working on new fields that were added to the high-res program. Anyone thinking about adding fields to the high-res program, that's going to corn this year, now is the time to get that done because it will change your VRT nitrogen rates. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.